to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast, where in this edition, of course, we'll be talking about the departure of Antonio Conte. Now, on Sunday evening, the club announcement came out 10:20 in the evening. Antonio Conte has left the club by mutual agreement. Christian Stellini will take the team as acting head coach, along with Ryan Mason as assistant head coach. Daniel Levy said, "We have 10 Premier League games remaining and we have a fight on our hands for a Champions League place. We all need to pull together. Everyone has to step up to ensure the highest possible finish for our club and amazing loyal supporters." And just a short while ago, Antonio Conte wrote the following on Instagram: "Football is passion. I would like to deeply thank everyone at Spurs who appreciated and shared my passion and my intense way of living football as a coach. A special thought to the fans who always showed me support and appreciation. It's been unforgettable to hear them singing my name. Our journey together has ended. I wish you all of the very best for the future, Antonio." Now, on today's episode, I've got 5 very special guests. We've got Lee Taylor, of course, Lee the Dorset Spur YouTube channel. Lee, how are you?
Yeah, all right. Kind of just resigned to it, Chris. Like we was just saying off air, it's this club that's going to kill us, isn't it? But yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. We'll survive. The club moves on.
Well, nice to have you back. We've also got Italian journalist Simone back with us. Simone, how are you?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. A little bit disappointed for the way Antonio and Spurs things ended, but absolutely grateful to be here once again for the show. Thank you, Chris.
Well, nice to have you back. And we've also got channel regular Craig Dearman back with us. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right. We kind of expected it, didn't we? I must admit, I didn't expect the appointment of Stellini, which I'm sure we'll get into, but we're here again, aren't we? We're here again. We've been here far too many times over recent years, but let's get into it.
Unfortunately, you're right, Craig. We've also got channel regular James Black with us, of course, singer at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. James, how are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, a little bit baffled of certain parts of it, but I'm okay. Yeah, not too bad. Bit down. Yeah, it's a few parts of it baffle me. I don't understand some of it, but we'll get into that.
We'll certainly talk about it, James. Don't worry. We've also got channel regular Melvin back with us, all the way from Malta. Melvin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, Chris. Typical day of being a Spurs fan. You know, it seems these things happen more often nowadays. It used to take 4 or 5 years until these things happen, and now it seems to be like a yearly thing. Or it's madness. It's happening way too often, and something that we don't like. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it and discuss it, and hopefully it'll be a good program for other Spurs fans to listen to and be I always call it as my free therapy session and talk about, you know, the 5 stages of acceptance, you know, that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm sure we'll go through it.
There has been a lot of therapy so far this season with 10 games to go in the Premier League. If anyone, the viewers want to put their comments in, I'll try and get through as many as we possibly can this evening. And you rightly said, Melvin, we're going through this a lot. You'd have to go back to the 2018-2019 season where we had a manager throughout the whole of the entire season. We keep swapping managers left, right and centre. Lee, let's start with you. When the announcement came out on Sunday evening from Tottenham Hotspur Football Club at 10:20, were you surprised by that point? Were you thinking up to then perhaps Antonio Conte will return and he will manage Spurs in the Everton game?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I almost did. I almost thought that he would come back and the players and the owners would have to face him. I almost wanted that to happen because, like I said, I did a video myself, and from my own personal point of view, I felt that Antonio Conte didn't really do anything wrong in that press conference. I felt that he was as disappointed as we was. We was at the game. It was a terrible day, and I could feel his frustration. And we all talk on these kind of channels on a regular basis about how disappointed we are, our lack of passion from our players, how we keep making the same mistakes and all the rest of it. And I'm not saying that Antonio Conte hasn't got something to pay in any of this, but at the same time, I almost wanted to see what the reaction from the players was. And with this announcement, it almost, for me, it almost proves his point. The players are bigger than the manager, and the club just can't take any kind of criticism, whether that's constructive or otherwise. So I wasn't shocked. I kind of felt it was gonna come sooner or later, but I was almost hoping that we would get to the end of the season to see where we are, because I do feel that we're in a worse position now to get top four than we were before he left, depending on what Antonio Conte you get coming back, if that makes sense.
Lee, are you surprised that no players have come out and said anything about the departure of Conte as yet?
Am I surprised? No, because I think most of them probably have been more aware of things that have been said than they're letting on. And I think none of them want to be the one that comes out and says something that then can be construed in another way. And they're probably being advised by their social media people and by the club to keep their mouth shut, to be honest with you. So I'm not surprised. It is what it is these days, isn't it? Everything's constructed and construed to be in the way that the club and that want it to be to maintain your persona.
The Standard have published this evening that many of the Tottenham Hotspur squad are pleased that they don't have to work with Antonio Conte again. Simone, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the statement from Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday evening, the departure of Conte.
Yeah, I didn't see any player, Chris, to pay some tributes to Antonio. So this showed that something about the relationships between players and Antonio went wrong in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of months. Antonio owes a lot in terms of rebuilding after Jose Mourinho's era at Tottenham, because he was great to build again after him, to chase the top 4 spot and to reach a Champions League qualification last year. But something, for every reason, something this season went wrong. And you know my feelings, you know my truths, and maybe I will once again show them. But, you know, it's a difficult situation for everyone. And I couldn't expect Mason and Stellini. I couldn't expect Mason, not Stellini. This is what it is. This is what this football club is all about. And we'll see what will happen in the next couple of weeks and the next couple of months.
Simone, where Lee said he agreed with what Antonio Conte said in the press conference, did you think that there was going to be any way back for Conte?
I think that he's not, just like you said, it's not way back. It's not way back. I think it was absolutely unfair, because Antonio Conte never, and when I say never, managed to finish a season playing a Champions League final, because I strongly think that Antonio's reputation in terms of winning leagues, Serie A or Premier League, is not as fantastic as his record is. So he is absolutely unable to try to afford to that Champions League dream, because we are talking about someone that won his own leagues with Inter de Milan, Juventus, and Chelsea as well. But when we are talking about Antonio Conte's records in Europe, we are talking about 5 times that he got knocked out from the Champions League group phases, twice in the last 16, and just once he got promoted to the last 8. So of course it's clear to everybody that what I'm saying is true. I'm talking about someone that is absolutely unable to try to win the Champions League. So Antonio made incredible things with Inter de Milan, Juventus, Chelsea as well. but his European records is not that what we think about it. So I think that the situation about it is that is what it is. But of course, he tried to do his best for Tottenham, but for one reason or another, he failed to do it.
Craig, let's get your thoughts on the departure of Antonio Conte. And I also want to ask you about the very short statement from Spurs, in particular Daniel Levy, and he talks about fighting for the Champions League place. Do you personally think that we are now in a better position without Antonio Conte to finish in a Champions League spot?
I think it was clear that something had gone wrong a good few weeks ago with Conte, and after the outburst, there was clearly no way back for him. I didn't think I thought we'd be in a worse position if he was to come back, because that was edging a bit closer. I thought, perhaps they are going to give him a go till the end of the season. But now he's gone. Obviously, I was hoping for the new manager bounce, which I think was the only thing that would have let us achieve top four. And it was one of the scenarios. Perhaps I'm a bit dumb, but the scenario I hadn't considered in my head was Stellini taking over. And for me, we're not in any better position now to get top four than we would have been if Conte had stayed, because Stellini's Conte's right-hand man. I don't quite get this appointment. I don't understand it. Have they fallen out? Apparently Antonio's given his blessing that Stellini can do it. I just don't understand it. Obviously, what I would have thought would have happened was Daniel Levy and the board and board members would have contacted Spurs leadership team, perhaps, is that the right word? Like Kane, Lloris's and Dyer's and that sort of thing. And if it would be me doing it, I'd have said, well, look, this is what we're thinking of doing. We're thinking of putting Stellini in charge with Mason as assistant. How do you feel about that? Surely they must have consulted senior members of the squad about this. Surely they're not that arrogant,
all of the reports, Craig, have stated that all of the players and the staff members were all left in the dark. They didn't know what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, but the players and staff expected Conte to go.
I just find it bizarre that his right-hand man is still there. Now, I mean, to me, that looks like the first thing I'd have thought is, they've had a falling out. But, how can you appoint? Obviously, they probably like Stellini from everything you hear, but you just don't know, do you? Nobody's told us anything. That statement from Levy basically said nothing. For me, the only way we would ever get top four is with a new manager. And Poch is sitting there and waiting. And for me, I know people will disagree with me. I'll still 100% think that Poch could have sorted this out and that we had the best chance of getting in top four with him. I just don't get it. I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I just can't see us getting top four with Stellini, because I don't think we're going to be playing any more attacking football. I don't think you're going to see the brand of football that all Spurs fans wants to see. I think we're going to limp over the line. Well, they're not even over the line. I think we'll just limp to the end of the season. We'll get a couple of good results. We'll get a couple of bad ones. We'll get a couple of mediocre ones. And I think that's what we're in store for the rest of these 10 games. I'm kind of numb to it in a way. I'm just fed up of being fed up with it. It's the one bit of thing you look forward to, perhaps sport and watching your team play. And I've had 3-4 years of dross football watching it. And I said on the last show I was on, as soon as Poch went, I thought, and we hired Mourinho, I thought, you know what football he's going to play. You've seen it time and time again. Knew we weren't going to be entertained. Yeah, there were some good results. Yeah, there were some good games. But I just don't get this decision to put Stellini in charge unless they've got something planned. Now, perhaps, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it and possible managers, Chris, but I just don't get this. I really don't get it at all.
Can I just ask you very quickly, Craig? Are you pleased that Conte's gone?
I am now, yeah, because I reached a point where I thought he had to go. It was clear to me that he'd lost some of the players, things he'd said, he weren't going to win back into the players. What you said about players coming out on Instagram and Twitter and thanking him or not thanking him, I think silence speaks 1,000 words in that case. I think you'd see, I think when Mourinho went, I think a couple of them came out, didn't they?
Couple, yeah.
Thank you. Obviously, when Poch went, there was quite a few more for him. The silence is deafening. It speaks volumes. But then again, he basically threw them all under the bus, didn't he? Now, whether some people say they deserved that, a lot of what he said was right. I'll stick by that. What he said, I agree with a lot of what he said. But when you say things like that about your players in public, are those players going to think, well, sod you, I ain't going to thank you for that after what you've done to me there? So, not saying what he said was wrong, but I can kind of understand it. But it could be that their social media teams and the club have just said, look, say nothing. I don't know, Chris. It's thoroughly depressing at the moment being a Tottenham fan.
Yeah. James, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the announcement of Conte leaving.
Very similar to the guys so far. I mean, I was kind of expecting it to happen. Part of me was weird. I kind of wanted it to happen. I got to the stage where I wanted it to happen because I do think his outbursts were affecting the team morale in a chance of getting the top four. What I did want, I think was quite popular with the other fans, is I did want Poch to be the one coming in, to be honest with you. I find it absolutely crazy that Stellini has been left there after getting rid of Conte. I think it's like dumping your girlfriend and having to hang out with one of her mates. Like, do you know what I mean? I just don't understand that weirdness about the whole situation. Just get it clean, get it done, and get someone else in. I'd have gone for Poch straight away. I think not going for Poch is definitely will affect our chance of getting top four, which then for me, I think forward about like Kane. If we don't get top four and Man United do, I'll worry about that. I also think that maybe we're getting to the point now to stop this cycle of what we're going around of getting a new manager. They're good for a while, backing them a little bit, not backing them fully, and the next new manager again. To stop that, I think we have to all together, including fans and all of us, start being patient with somebody, giving them a bit of time. Maybe we concentrate a little bit more on the cups for a while, and for a few years we start to rebuild what Tottenham is. I think when you've got clubs like Newcastle, it's going to spend crazy money. Chelsea are going to be better next season. Liverpool will be better next season. Next season is going to be a struggle. Maybe we need to accept that, and we all need to be a bit patient with someone new coming in. Even if it is Poch and he doesn't get top four next season, still being patient and rebuilding. I think it's time for that now, whilst concentrating on getting a trophy from the cups. That's for me. But yeah, my immediate concern is with Stellini being there, that being quite weird, us not getting top four, Man United getting top four, and the knock-on effect for that with Kane. And yeah, I think the whole thing's made me feel quite a bit low, to be honest with you.
James, why do you think that is? Because the only other member of staff is the analyst, which of course is Antonio Conte's brother, Gianluca Conte. He is left with Antonio. The rest of the staff, including Christian Stellini, have stayed. This is very unusual. Why do you think the club have gone down that route?
I really don't understand it. Like I've been trying. I mean, like my flatmates Tottenham. That's all we talk about is Tottenham. We've tried to work it out between us, and like I just don't get it. There's no answer that we come to that makes sense. It just maybe we thought that someone's lined up for summer already, and they've got need a stopgap. But for that reason, why wouldn't you just go with Mason, Ledley King, and Vincent Kompany? Maybe give them a shot, see if these people get some good results over the next 10 games, and the players buy into their system. At least it's someone who's new that we can give a bit of time to. But yeah, I really don't understand. I got quite excited when I saw the picture of Pochettino coming back from his holiday in Japan, hoping he was coming back for a meeting, because I think this is a very, very important period in these next 10 games to get that top four, to hold on to Kane, who is just had an incredible season. The way his whole play this season is just. Oh, he's been off it now and again, but like the passing, like does he not look more happy when he's playing for England for you guys than when he's playing for
Yeah.
Tottenham. That becomes a worry for me. I think that Kane would buy into Poch coming back in. I think even if we didn't get top four and we had Poch, then maybe Kane would stay. Kane knows the issues with the club as well. Sorry, not Kane. Pochettino knows the issues with the club. He's worked with it before. He's guided through these storms. I just found I was kind of happy that Conte was going because I think he lost the players, but not happy with Stellini. But I'm a Tottenham fan and I'll get behind him and I'll probably sing about him. Do you know what I mean? But I'll always get behind the club. But I'm quite baffled.
Melvin, let's get your thoughts on Conte leaving.
It depends how you look at it, really, because if you think about it, if you think about the short-term benefits from this, you think, the team will get a bounce. The morale, the players didn't want him there. 10 games left. Stellini and Mason will probably do a okay job, and maybe we will limp, into the top four, or somehow we will scrape it like we did last season. But obviously, without Antonio Conte, if you think about the long-term vision of the club, it's just this thing where all of a sudden we look top four is, at the end of the day, is what Levy wants. It's clear to see, because every single time the team doesn't look like we're going to make top four, he'll sack the manager, try to get a bounce. If there's a manager lined up, he'll bring him in quickly. And I think, honestly, he'll probably try to bring in Tuchel from who's available, and probably that's why Bayern moves so quickly. But that doesn't concern us anymore. But it's this vision from the club. They keep looking short term and don't see the big picture, don't see the long term vision of what Conte was trying to say that the problems were. And now we're in the same cycle. That's why I didn't want Jose to get sacked, even though he was terrible as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't want him to get sacked either, because all these players that needed to go were going to get a second chance, and some of them did, and some of them improved. Ben Davis, Eric Dyer at times. Some players improved, some players didn't. All these players that we need to move on. I hate to say it. Look at Arsenal, what they did 4 or 5 years ago. They took a massive hit on their finances with Aubameyang and Ozil, and we have to go through that because we still have about 7 or 8 players still signed on to the club, and we're still in the beginning of this process. We still have to start it, and we keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. We still have to bite off all these contracts. We need to move on. Herwinks, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Rodin. There's about 7 or 8 players that are still contracted to the club. It's like we're trying to do a rebuild with one hand tied behind our backs, because we keep saying, why don't we spend the mega money that we know we're earning? Because we can see the stadiums are full. We can see the beer flowing, at halftime. We know how much money the stadium is generating, and we're not the same Tottenham Hotspur we were 8 or 9 years ago. We're evolved as a club. We became much bigger, and we started to attract the big names, because 10 years ago Jose wouldn't have come to Spurs, and neither would have Antonio Conte. These are big name players, but they've come to a club where our priorities are short term, and they used to be long term. We used to buy young, exciting, promising players, and it just, I would have all year we've been tweeting back Conte. Everyone keeps saying it, and the hashtags on Twitter, back Conte, back him, buy him the players he wants, buy him the players he needs. We made good signings, but we weren't as smart with the money that was put in the club in the summer. We weren't as proactive, as clever as we needed to be. We didn't have to make, the sexiest signings with a flashy name. It could have been, look at Arsenal when they bought, for example, Ben White or Ramsdale. Look how much we said, they wasted 50 million, they wasted 60 million. and oh, he's nothing. He got relegated. It's these signings that are clever, and we need it. We need players that Antonio Conte trusted and believed in, that were gonna fight for the shirt, and we lost it. I don't know how we went from such highs last season of getting top 4, and it seemed that we were in a position to attack for the league, and it's the other way around. It seemed that top 4 last season really blinded and made us think we were much better positioned than we actually were. And to be honest, I didn't see it last summer, but looking at it now, we still have the same cracks. We're still pretty much the same lineup that we've been lining up under Nuno. Our midfield is the same, Højbjerg and Skip. We still play Emerson Royal. We still play what's his name? The same back line. We still play pretty much the same players. Dyer. Kulusevski and Bentancur came in, and I used to say this on Chris's channel. Any player with Champions League experience will improve us immediately. Any player with a couple of seasons in the Champions League will improve us. And it just seems I think the club, it's getting too big for them in a way. The hierarchy, the board, all these guys, the analysts, it's becoming too much. And we've lost sight of the structure we had under Pochettino. Under Pochettino, you could see the rebuild, and we were patient because we saw our academy coming through, and when they made a mistake, we accepted it because we know these guys are going to be long term. When Harry Kane was being played by Tim Sherwood, and we saw this guy coming through, and the same with Walker and Danny Rose, and then recruitment came in and found Heung-min Son and Toby and kept at it. There was a spine to the team, and we just didn't build a spine in the club. We don't have a spine. We don't have, from back to front, we just don't have it. We try to buy, like Manchester United do, players for the now, but we don't spend like they do. They attracted Casemiro, for example, a player who's for the now, which is what Conte and Mourinho are the type of managers. They're, for example, a player that would have suited us, that we could never attract in a million years, for example, Ramos from Real Madrid. That's the type of players that they want. And we buy them Joe Rodin. This is what they mean when he has this outburst after a game like that. He's like, these players don't share in a statement, he said, my passion for football. Some of these players, I'm sick of watching most of them lose. How many times did we see Sanchez lose, Dyer lose, Davis, even Harry Kane? As much as I love him, I'm tired of watching them lose sometimes, and it's becoming painful. And until we go 2 steps back and we start slowly again, it's like we're trying to skip a couple of places. And until we take a step back and try to really analyze where we went wrong and build again. We have some youth to the squad. There's a couple of core players that we can build the squad around, Skippy, Kulusevski, and them. And I'm sure they will find talent through the academy, because they always do. Even when our best players leave, if Harry Kane leaves, we always have, Modric left, Gareth Bale left, Berbatov, Carrick. We always have, very, very good players coming through. And if they leave, it will be a shame. But Tottenham will always be there, and it's difficult right now. It's difficult to take. I hate it. I love this club, and I wake up and I go to sleep thinking about it, and I speak to Chris and Craig, and I message Simone, and it's difficult to accept. And I think personally, sometimes I think I need to lower my expectations, because you build them up. And
I don't think you do. I think all of us supporters deserve a lot more.
Yeah, we do. But honestly, I say to myself, I need to lower my expectations because I keep getting hurt by the club. Like these hurt you as a fan because you go through. I personally have to travel to London to see the games. Chris, you go everywhere. Simone has to go from Italy to see the games. Lee has to go from Dorset all the way to London, 3 hours. You know, the fans, we work hard and we put in the miles, and then for moments like this to happen, it's so disappointing. And I've been thinking about what I was going to say all day. I know I rambled on a little bit, but yeah.
Melvin, it's interesting because you said about young players. Of course, we bought Jed Spence. Antonio Conte called him a club signing, a player for the future. You then say about players with Champions League experience. We've brought Dan Juma in, has hardly had any minutes. Champions League experience, he didn't play. Lee, let's come to you. What needs to change at Tottenham? I feel like this is going to be a very long-winded answer because how on earth do you go from Maurizio Pochettino to Jose Mourinho to Nuno Espirito Santo, then to Antonio Conte? It's not worked out with any of them. Where does Spurs go next?
Well, this is the trouble, Chris, isn't it? Like, in my view, I said that this was the last chance saloon for Daniel Levy because they were really, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, right? I think we were really, really lucky under Pochettino. Not the football, but in the fact that Tottenham got Pochettino and he did what he did and he achieved what he achieved. Because I don't think the club expected him to achieve as much as he did in terms of solidifying the support, bringing the team forward, raising our profile, and really making fans fall in love with the club again. Because we'd been through some to put it bluntly, some right shit, right? So we've been through all of that, and he solidified everything. He got everything going together, and he did all the years were racking up, and we could see consistent progress, right? As soon as he started calling out that, right, we've got to here to go to the next level, we need some serious cash, we need some serious rebuilds and all the rest of it. Jose Mourinho comes in, he has a word in Danny's ear and says, listen, those players are better than Pochettino's telling you, I can get a tune out of them. And so Pochettino goes out the door and Mourinho comes in because Levy was always a Mourinho fan. We've always said that, right? As soon as Mourinho came through the door, he then started to realise, actually, the mentality of some of these players ain't as good as I thought it was. It's not going to be as easy, this new Mourinho, where I'm all friendly and cuddly, to come in and just say to these players, put an arm around them and talk to them and say, are you Dele Alli's brother? And that's going to make all the difference. And he started to realise that he needed to spend some money and get some proper backing. And so what happened was Daniel Levy went, no, we ain't doing that. We need top four. We need top four. Forget about winning a cup. You don't need that. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in top four, end of. And if you're not prepared to give that, and Mourinho said, I'm not prepared to give that, off he went. Then we end up with a stopgap in Nuno. And now the same thing's happened when you bring in another manager who is technically a checkbook manager. He likes to spend. He wants ready-made players. He wants players that are ready and can play his way. He asks for them sort of players. And I personally thought we had a decent pre-season. I thought the amount of players that we were bringing in were the good players for the right positions. And I thought, great. We need a backup for Kane. We get Richarlison, We needed someone at right back. We get Jed Spence. We needed a left back. We get Perisic. The list goes on. And I thought we're doing business early. We're getting the players in. And if these are the players that Conte's asked for, then great, we're going to go somewhere. But what it seems to me is that these players perhaps weren't the players that he'd asked for. They might have been the positions he asked for, but not the players that he asked for. And so, therefore, he's realised these players ain't good enough and I need more than I'm getting. And then you fall out again and off he goes. And so you're back to square one. And we're saying, as James said, let's be patient and go for some cups and all the rest of it. I'd love that. I'd absolutely love a longer term project like a Pochettino back then, where we said, right, We're going to give you a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract. We're going to back you and we're going to build and we're going to get somewhere. There's no expectation to get top 4. There's no expectation to get this, that, or the other, but we want to compete. Because I, as a fan, want to see us compete. I'm not personally interested in whether we get top 4 or not. Because if we get into the Champions League, are we going to win it? That's my question. Are you going to put in enough money to win the Champions League? Because if you're not, you're just an also-ran. And then what you do is you put all your eggs in one basket. Let's achieve top 4 all the time at the expense of everything else. As soon as we lost to Sheffield United, that was the beginning of the end for me, for Conte. I'd always been backing him. But as soon as we did that, I knew this is it. All we're aiming for is to get into a competition next season without worrying about anything for this season. And to be quite honest, it turned me off. It pissed me off. And I've been struggling with it ever since. And so I'm not sad to see Conte go, because it was at that point you start going, well, the poor football really isn't great. It's not making any difference. I'm not getting anywhere with it. I can accept some poor performances if you can see the progression, if you can see us going to win something. And I'm sorry that I've rambled on for such a long time with that answer. No. You get the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, some great points, Lee, and I completely agree with you on the Sheffield United game. Completely agree. Simone, top 4 for you. Is it a success for Tottenham to finish in the top 4?
No, absolutely no. Because when you want to build something special, I don't think it's all about finishing into the top 4 or finishing top 6. You know, the biggest teams are the ones that finish into the top 6, but fails to finish in top 4. But they are strongly believing in their manager. And this is the biggest mistakes in Tottenham Hotspur recent history, guys, because we are talking about someone that went face-to-face, and I'm clearly hinting to Mauricio Pochettino, face-to-face, Pochettino against Guardiola, Pochettino against Jurgen Klopp, facing maybe 6th, 5th, but the only season that Spurs failed to fighting for the top 4 spot was 3 years ago, 14th in the leagues. You know, you should have been backed, Mauricio Pochettino, because we are talking about someone that really meant to be a Spurs supporter, really meant to be what's being a Spurs fan, what's being a Spurs human being. This has to be very, 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 very clear, because of course, when you decided to sack Poch to bring on Jose needed to show everyone to be once again a top-class manager, but he failed. Antonio did a masterclass last season, because he's absolutely right when he says that he made a miracle to finish into top 4, but this season he failed. So if you think about the last couple of 2-3 years, we are talking about the same fucking, I'm sorry for the bad word, old story about Tottenham. Tottenham had an incredible, absolutely incredible manager, Mauricio Pochettino, but they decided to betray one of the best love stories in the modern football. We already had an incredible manager, and we decided to sack him. And this is what happens, guys. I think that Mauricio loves Spurs too much to say things like that, but I think that he's enjoying the currently situation around Tottenham Hotspur. This is what it is. So, you know, we are talking about Jose, we are talking about Antonio, we are talking about Julian Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique or Roberto De Zerbi or stuff like that. But the currently situation is that Daniel Levy never understood that if you want to finish into the top 4 in the modern Premier League, you need to build a team that, I don't know if is capable, but I'm sure that if you want to finish in top 4 in the Premier League, that is the incredible NBA of football, you need to build a team that is capable to winning the league, just like Arsenal. But the incredible story is that Tottenham already had an incredible manager in their hands, and they decided to sack him. So what's to do? I don't think that Nagelsmann, neither Luis Enrique, neither the Zerbi or stuff like that will change the situation, because if it didn't work with Jose or Antonio, and if you hope for a project manager that is, for example, Luis Enrique or stuff like that, or the Zerbi or Nagelsmann, it never will change absolutely anything. You owe everything to Mauricio Pochettino. So for me, the only thing to overcome every situation about Jose, about Antonio, is that you need to go through that way. The best manager in last couple of 2 decades for Spurs. Massive respect to Harry Renap or Martial, but I strongly think that this football clubs belongs to Mauricio Pochettino. So I strongly think that the only way for Spurs to overcome this kind of situation is to appoint once again, to say excuse to Mauricio Pochettino and to appoint him once again, because if you wanna finish into top 4, if you wanna play for the best trophies, for the best titles, is to appoint him once again, because if you betray the DNA, the identity, because of course, guys, we are talking about a chairman and a club that, they decided to appoint Fabio Paratici to let the fans have their identity once again. For what? Because we have been waiting for the Tottenham DNA, to do what? 70 days being waiting for Nuno. Nuno was a good manager, but is a sort of like of Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte. They decided to go through their truths, their feelings, but at the end of the day, they failed once again. Antonio did a miracle last season, but he failed to go on with their idea, with their DNA. So this is what it is, guys. And I don't think that after Mourinho, after Antonio, Julian Nagelsmann will be good enough to produce a new way to produce Tottenham Hotspur DNA. So this is what my feelings are. So let's discuss about it, but I'm very clear about what I'm saying.
Yeah, Martin Jol was actually interviewed on TalkSport earlier today, and he said that his choice would be Julian Nagelsmann coming into Tottenham and building something, having a project. Craig, let's come to you.
This is my
Sorry, Simone.
I strongly think that Julian Nagelsmann will never change anything. Will never change anything. If Spurs failed with someone like Antonio or Jose Mourinho, we are talking about, it's not about project manager, guys. It's not about instant manager or project manager. It's about being Tottenham Hotspur DNA. It's about being Pochettino's way. I don't know if Poch, I strongly think that Poch is the right man to bring Spurs to the next level. I strongly think that it's an unfinished business, but it's not about Poch or someone like Poch. I think that a strong club knows to explain to every single player what has to be to being a proper Spurs player. This is my aim.
Craig, let's come to you. What needs to change? Because how many times have we all said on this channel, you know, when you go from Pochettino to Jose Mourinho to Antonio Conte and you're not successful, you don't win a trophy. What needs to change for you? Because surely the board must do something differently with the next manager.
You'd have thought so. And can you hear me all right? Because the wife's in the shower. The wife's in the shower, and it's really loud. The pump, which is right behind me. What needs to change? Well, the thing is, we've had, like you say, 2 or 3, if you count Nuno now, non-project managers, win now managers. I think we've got to go, but we've had the most. We said before, the most successful, and I use successful with a small s, times, or should I say, good, fast-flowing football that we want to see at the stadium has been under Redknapp and Pochettino. So they've tried these win now managers, but they haven't given them the win now tools to do it with. Chelsea, when Conte was at Chelsea, they had a very different squad to the one we've got. They had a much better squad to the one we've got, and they haven't brought in the players to give him the tools to do the job. Now the thing is, you could argue that is Paratici doing the job he's paid to do, whatever the hell that is, if he's even going to have a job next week. But that's
the thing, Craig, because his job is very uncertain. He was meant to be in court today. It's been postponed until the 10th of May. His future at the club is uncertain, and that's another thing that we've got to worry about in the summer.
Well, for me, as soon as he's come up, why is he not getting rid of Paratici? Because I used to think he was brilliant, Paratici, and there's no doubt he's brought in some good players, but he's. For me, he's not got that world-class signing over the line that we was kind of thinking that they would, if they're going down that road. Like you said, the last one I was wowed with was Jurgen Klinsmann in 1994, which is nearly 30 years ago, which is mental. You know, you're not telling me we can't pull that off, you know? So is he doing his job properly? Look, I'm not Daniel Levy out, ENIC out. I just want the club run properly. And I've said on here before, we've all said it, if they put as much effort into the first team squad as they do everything else, then we would be winning the Premiership without a doubt. Because
Craig, I think it's very obvious that the owners are not going to be selling the club in the near future. So that's why I asked the question. If they're not going to sell up, surely they have to do things in a different way. Because when you look at the Pochettino situation, as Simone has said many, many times on this channel, you know, he didn't spend a penny in 518 days, took us to a Champions League final. You know, the bond with Pochettino with the fans was absolutely incredible. We sacked him a short time after that Champions League final because we didn't start the season too well. The football wasn't great. But in my opinion, he wasn't backed as perhaps Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte have been.
Yeah.
You know, if we would have backed Pochettino at the time, things could have been very, very different. And then, of course, you brought in 2 serial winning managers that haven't worked out because, of course, they want instant success. They want, you know, top quality. They want every player to give 110%. And, you know, some of these players are not capable of that, as Antonio Conte has said publicly last week. So what do Tottenham do next? What do the board do next in terms of do we go for another serial winning manager? Do we go down the route of actually having a 5-year plan, of having a plan of this is the man that is going to take us forward? And even if we have a few ropey results and performances, this is the man we're going to stick with.
Well, I think they've got to read the room, first off. And they must see on Twitter and social media what the fans want. The fans want just better football. They want to be entertained. We haven't been entertained for the last 3 or 4 years. And that's what football's about, being entertained. We've gone down these pragmatic managers. The last 3 managers we've had have been pragmatic. And where's that got us? You know, don't get me wrong. Conte has improved. We got 4th last year and he leaves us in 4th. So, you know, in that regard, league position, we have improved. But it's just not good enough. And people saying about Sheffield United and blaming I've seen people blaming Daniel Levy that we lost to Sheffield United. That was absolutely nothing to do with Daniel Levy, or the board. That was the players not applying themselves properly, and the managerial team not getting enough out of the players. But then again, you could argue why should they have to with all due respect, against a second string Sheffield United team? Even the team we had out that night should have been enough to beat them. You've got to have the heart, you've got to have the passion to do these things as a player.
Craig, let me ask you, because under Pochettino, under Jose Mourinho, under Antonio Conte, they all put out weakened teams in these cup competitions. Are they told to, or is it their choices?
God, that's $1 million question. I would imagine, to be honest, it's their choices. And Poch used to wind me up with that when he used to play weakened teams. I think it was under him we went out to Colchester. Was it Colchester in the cup on penalties?
Yeah.
It drives me mad, because putting a trophy in the cabinet, no matter what it is, all right, not the Audi Cup, but, if it's a Carabao Cup, obviously I'd love the FA Cup, but just a trophy, that FA Cup this year, if he was told to field a weakened team, I could imagine actually Conte saying, no, I'm not putting out a weakened team. It's my job to pick the team, not yours. That's what I'd imagine he would have said, knowing how Conte can be. So I genuinely think it was him that picked the team, and it was wrong from the start. It sends out the wrong message. We should have gone strong from the start, and we would have been through to the next round. Like Lee said, that done it for me this season, because that was a genuine opportunity to go far in a competition and certainly get to a final. It's just all wrong. And coming back to what the board and the club have to do now, as I say, they have to read the room, because we need a manager in place that's going to play the football the fans want to watch. And obviously we don't get to hear everything that's going on. And for me, Poch is not coming back now, or else he would already be in place, unless there's something going on that we don't know about.
Craig, sorry. I have a question for you. Did you think that maybe against Manchester City away, Man City 4, Tottenham Hotspur 3, Tottenham were the best teams into the pitch? Did you think that against Ajax, Tottenham were the best teams into the pitch? I don't think so. But that's really in a Mourinho's way. And for me, Poch is fantastic for that reason, because he's absolutely complete. Because when he understood that he wasn't the best even team into the pitch, he was absolutely great. For me, the most important thing in football is not about being the best team in the pitch, because you cannot think that you can dominate every single game. So, of course, I'd love, just like you say, to be... I'd love to see once again Tottenham Hotspur dominating with Nagelsmann, with Luis Enrique, or stuff like that. But I think that it's not enough. It's not enough. So I'm hearing about many people that he's asking about. So Mourinho's football was Antonio Conte's football it was a fossil football, and I completely agree. But when you need to make 75 points, for example, to make it a top 4 spot, I think that 60 of them you will make it by dominating the game. But 10 or 15 in very, very decisive months, just like April, March, or May, you need to make it in a dirty side of football. So I think that Spurs need to appoint a manager that is complete to understand this kind of stuff. Okay, so for me, Poch was absolutely complete. So it's not about reason of being me, romantic in terms of I'd love to see Spurs once again to appoint Pochettino. I still think that Poch is a complete manager. I don't know. I strongly don't know many managers in Europe that are as complete as Poch. So this is my humble way of thinking football. Sorry, boss.
No. Look. Everything you said was, I want Poch back, and like I say, if I'm convinced he would have been in now. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. And all this crap about it depends on Nagelsmann or Poch, whoever goes to Real Madrid and Spurs are like get the second best. To be honest, I'd have either of them, so I don't really care. Real Madrid can do what Real Madrid want to do. Personally, I don't know too much about Nagelsmann, but what I've seen of him and how he plays, I think it would be quite exciting football. Certainly, whether it would transition to the Premier League, and you don't get me right, you know, Tottenham is a huge task, and are we going to be too hard to please? Are we going to burn another manager? Why I think Poch should be the safer option for the board. Out of anybody on the planet, the fans would give him more time than anybody else, I think, and it would take the pressure off the board and Daniel Levy. So if I was Daniel Levy, I'd have been on the phone to Poch. Right, yeah, Mauricio, what do you want? What do you want paying? What do you want? How many backroom staff do you want? You can have it, because it gets all the crap off his desk for a little while, and the fans will get behind. I know a lot of you out there don't want to go back to him, and I get that. That's your opinion. I think that probably I wouldn't say an overwhelming majority, but a vast majority of fans, certainly over 50-60% that I've seen on Twitter, would have Poch back, and I think he'd win over the rest of them over the course of half a season. I genuinely think that, and people would say, yeah, he is the man for the job. I just don't get this board why they haven't gone for Poch again, because yes, you could say it would be the easy way out for them, but I think it's the right choice as well. I genuinely do. Unless they've got something up their sleeve, unless they've spoken to Nagelsmann, they want him, they realise his situation, he's still contracted essentially to buy until the end of the season, from what I understand, and he can't physically manage another club until June. But what I don't understand is why Stellini's still there. That is bizarre to me. Like you said, Chris, I'd never ever seen that before. And I know Joel was it Ramos's assistant? Was he Ramos's assistant, I think? But that's a slightly different situation, wasn't it? So this is two friends who've known each other for years, and he's basically taken his mate's job. That's what it is. That's what's happened.
Yeah.
So I just don't get it. And look, if you don't want Poch back, totally respect your opinion. But for me, he is the man that could take the load of any manager out there. Because make no mistake, whoever takes this job on next is going to be under huge pressure from day one. Absolute pressure.
Guys. What I just would like to say is that it's not about being an instant manager or a project manager. For me, the problem of Spurs is not about being Jose Mourinho or Antonio Conte. For me, the biggest problem is that you don't owe anything about being a project manager or an instant manager. The problem is that I'd love to see once again wearing the Spurs DNA. And I saw once in my lifetime, because of course we all loved Renato Martial, but I don't think there is any manager in the world just like Poch to bring Tottenham to a Champions League final. So it's not about being, Jose failed, Antonio failed. So why Nagelsmann would have been successful at Tottenham? Tottenham belong to some values, to some way of being. So for me, it's about Pochettino, because we are talking about, guys, this is an incredible football club where everyone, also Pep Guardiola would fail, also Jurgen Klopp would fail at this football club. Guys, the situation is clear. It's a madness. It's a mess. Everyone knows it. So
let me just say,
it's Poch, because Poch is the only one in the world that would go through. So this is my.
I won't drink what he's drinking.
It's about Spurs. Spurs are madness, guys. Stop. This is my.
Can I have a sip?
There is some, James, before I come to you, there is some breaking news from Sky Sports News. Sky Sports Germany have just reported there has been contact between Tottenham and Julian Nagelsmann, but a quick decision is unlikely. So the parties are in talks.
Right.
I thought that would shut up Simone for a little while.
Nagelsmann is another thing. Nice.
Simone,
You know,
we'll come on to you in a second. James, give me your thoughts on the last couple of years, because ever since Pochettino left, the club seems to have gone round in circles. We keep replacing managers. As I said at the start of the show, the 2018-2019 season, you'd have to go back that far before you'd notice a manager managed us for the entire season. How have you felt these last few years?
Well, I think that's the last season that I enjoyed the football, if I'm honest. Yeah, I enjoyed that attacking play. From 2017 onwards, 2017, 18, 19, I used to turn up and watch the games and be excited. I haven't been excited in the last few seasons to watch us play. I think this season we've been grafting out results, but not in an exciting way. That when Pochettino, I know we're going back over some points from before, when Pochettino was managing, there was a bounce about the place. There was a buzz. I loved going to the games, and I haven't felt like that since Terry Venables. Showing my age here a little bit, but that feeling with Gazza, Lineker, and Venables, that chemistry of how amazing it was to be a Spurs fan. Pochettino got that, and I think once we lost him, that we're finding out now as Spurs fans how deep a cut that was, because we've been trying to fill that void ever since and making mistakes. But my biggest thing I want to stop is this cycle that keeps going round. And the only way to stop it is with patience, a 3 to 5 year contract. The magic one for me is Pochettino with that time and the patience from the fans and all of us together. We do deserve more, but I think Pochettino straight away will be playing exciting football. So the fans will get behind him, even if the results are not quite getting there and the top four's not quite getting there. I think the football will be excited to go and see, and as fans we'll be excited to go and see what Pochettino gets out of the team. So I think with that we will give him time. So again, what the other guys are saying, I think Levy should be on the phone saying, "What do you want? Give you what you want." And that the magic would be that with the patience and a new project and a long-term contract, because none of it before has worked since he's gone, and that deep cut needs filling. And I think he's the only man for me that would fill it. Even Nagelsmann, like I agree with Simone. What I think it could be going down the same track again, in terms of like giving 1 to 2 years, and then will his head get turned by somebody else? Whereas Pochettino loves the club, and we love Pochettino, and we'd give him time.
Yeah.
So you'd be happy if Nagelsmann come in then, James, because he's only 35, very young manager, very successful.
I'd be a little bit wary, because I think we're still doing the same thing with this cycle. I think there'd be a part of me excited because he was a Bayern Munich coach, he's done well. But didn't he lose the dressing room as well? I know he's a young manager, so the excitement is nowhere near as the same as the relief I'd feel if it was someone like Pochettino, because I do think then we might stop this cycle of every 2 years getting a new manager. I think with Pochettino coming back for the second time with a longer contract, then we really are going to be challenging in the next 2 or 3 years. That's what I feel. And Nagelsmann,
totally right, James. I just think it would lift the whole place. Poch coming back. All right, you might lose that. You will. Well, of course, you'll lose that. After a little while, but it will lift the whole place, like you say. The training ground, the staff, the stadium. Right. Can you imagine that stadium first home game if Poch was back now?
And I think Kane, even if we didn't get top 4, if Poch was there.
Well, yeah, there is that. But, Daniel Levy holds all the cards with that one. He's not going to sell him if he doesn't want to. He's, sad to say, he's got a contract. And I've said on here before, I think, the money that we get for Champions League qualification, even if Kane goes on a free, it's kind of a moot point, because if you're just talking finances, he's not going to lose that much money if we get top 4 next season and Kane goes on a free. So I don't think that will bother him too much. Personally, I think Kane will stay anyway. What I absolutely detest, and sorry to come in before Melvin there, Chris, is the media and Sky, certain pundits. I just knew it yesterday watching the England game.
Gerrard.
They're going to talk about Gerrard again. Who else do they talk about? Must Harry Kane leave Tottenham to win trophies? Just let it go. He got it completely wrong. He's been here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, he was on loan. He's been at Spurs since he was like 7 or whatever. You know, but he's
seen
been on loan.
Liverpool and about how he was born there, but he was born 10 miles from Anfield and Kane was born 4 miles from White Hart Lane. So
yeah, and he said all my family are Liverpool fans. Yeah, all Kane's family are Tottenham fans. So
exactly.
Steve, shut up, and you know, he didn't do it. Yeah, it drives me insane. They don't do it with anybody else. They don't do it with anybody else, and he's always Kane, and I just don't listen to it now because it just winds me up too much. But
also,
sorry, Chris.
Sorry, just one thing. You know, like Kane say he hasn't won a Champions League medal. We could probably go through about 50 players that have won Champions League medals that are just couldn't even fit to lace his boots as a player.
No, and do you know what as well? People say Alan Shearer only won one Premiership, right? But at least he won the Premiership. What does it come up on Match of the Day? It doesn't come up Alan Shearer Premiership winner with Blackburn. It comes up Alan Shearer, record Premier League goal scorer, 260 goals, right? So you know, if you say Shearer, what's the first thing you think of? I said it on here before. Premier League all-time goal scoring record, right? And Shearer went home to play at Newcastle. Shearer went to play for his boyhood club. Kane plays for his team, regardless of these photos of him with an Arsenal shirt with red hair. You know, Kane's a Spurs boy. So.
Craig, to put a bit of balance on it, if you were Harry Kane's dad, what would you be telling your son to do? And you've not won a single trophy at Tottenham.
I'll be telling him. I'll give him my honest answer. I would say, Harry, you've got to do what you want, what you feels right. You've got to do what you want to do. If you want to go, if trophies mean that much to you, and you want to finish your career, guaranteed trophy winner. Guaranteed. I don't think there's any such thing as a guarantee unless you go in something like City, by the way.
Exactly.
But then you consider your options. But think about what would. But this is me personally. I would say, what would it mean to you to win something, possibly win something with Manchester United, or possibly win something with Tottenham? You know, I think many players have said, Gerrard.
He's had so many chances at Tottenham. And we're miles away from the trophy right now.
Chris, to be fair to Kane as well, he's had the opportunities. He's played in finals, right? Yeah. And you could say he hasn't turned up himself. So he's got to look at himself to a degree, you know. We've said that before, and I don't like criticising Harry because he's so good. But there's part of that. He's been part of that team, and the best players drag their teammates through, and we've not turned up in finals, even though the Champions League final didn't start off well. And we all know the handball rule changed the season after, and that could have been so different. But honestly, what would I be telling him? I'd be telling him that it's your choice, Harry. And I think the only person that genuinely knows what he wants to do is Harry Kane. And if he wants to stay, he's most welcome. And I really hope he does stay with us for another season.
Yeah, I think that's another big problem for us Tottenham Hotspur fans in the summer. And of course, there will be so much speculation on the likes of Sky Sports, etc., for the whole summer. Melvin, let's come to you.
Chris, just before you go to Melvin, just one more point on Harry. If I was Daniel Levy and your prized asset, I would be involving him in the manager's discussions, not to the point of how they've involved Mbappe in France, like he basically runs everything by the sound of it. I would be in a meeting with Harry Kane saying, what would make you not want to leave this club? Who do you want? I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that they should be doing that. I think they should be doing that and involving Harry, because Harry should be now, in my opinion, become captain, because Hugo's probably on his way out in the summer, I'd imagine. So you involve your captain, you involve your one world-class player, and you get his opinion, you get a feel around the squad. Because if you're making decisions at board level without involving the senior leadership team within the squad, for me, that's wrong. You know, the arrogance that you can do it because you're the board of the club. No. You've got this wrong too many times. A lot of these things you've got wrong too many times. Involve the players, involve your Harry Kanes, you know, because this is what's got to change at Tottenham. Involve the people who've got the boots on the ground, so to speak. Ask them what they want and listen to what the fans want as well while you're at it. But that's just my opinion.
Not a chance that any of that's going to happen, though, Craig, is there? Let's be honest.
No, but absolutely,
Not a
Lee.
chance.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying must happen, in my opinion. That has to happen if we want change.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Change.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Change.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but there is just no way on this earth that Daniel Levy is going to take advice from anybody else. And I don't think, and I'm sorry I'm jumping in, right, but I seriously don't think that Daniel Levy's feeling any pressure about who he gets, and I don't think it really matters to them. As long as they're still churning out Champions League football or getting close to Champions League football and getting that money in, I don't think they'll give a monkey's toss, to be honest with you.
Therein lies the problem. 330 days that stadium stays empty, right? And people are saying it should just be for football. Personally, I'd love them to be doing something there all the other 330 days and bringing the money in if it's invested back into the team.
Absolutely.
I don't care. Build your go-kart tracks, have concerts galore, have rugby there, do whatever you want to do, bring the money in, but invest it back into the team. Get the debt repaid, of course, but that will take care of itself. Invest that money back into the team.
That's the key.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But they won't, and they don't.
Football, and therein lies the rub.
The football club is almost like a sideline to everything else that goes on. It's like another finger in the pie. You've got your concerts, you've got your rugby, you've got your American football, you've got your big shop, you've got your food and drink and all that other kind of stuff. And then, of course, you've also got a football team and a ladies' football team and this and that. And it's just another finger in the pie. It's not about Tottenham Hotspur anymore. It's about ENIC and what they can get out of it and what they can do. And ultimately, they're making so much money out of it that it really doesn't matter to them. They're not going to read the room, like you've said. They're not going to go, the fans really want Pochettino. It's going to make a big difference to the club. They couldn't give a monkeys. They will do whatever they think is right for them, regardless. And I'm sorry to be the negative person on here, but that's just how I see it.
It's not negatively. It's just sharing your opinion. You're very welcome to it. Melvin, let's come to you. It seems quite an easy thing to do for Spurs if they wanted it to happen by bringing Mauricio Pochettino back. He's always said that he would like to return to the club. Why do you think that Spurs have not turned to Poch?
Honestly, it's okay. We all know, Simone, who you want as manager. I think you made it very clear.
Very clear.
But honestly, all you have to do is go onto my Twitter and see my pinned tweet, and you'll see why I really want Pochettino. Honestly, the guy is incredible, and we all love him. But and I say this with a heavy heart, but we're still the same club. I think we still have the same problems of when he left. And I think, honestly, and this is quite sad when I say this, I will want Pochettino to come back once or every single player that played under him is gone. And there's a new slate. And there's, sadly, even if that means Harry Kane is no longer at the club, it's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. I feel like even Eric Dyer, Ben Davis, Hugo Lloris, we can name them all if you want. But if he's going to come back, it's going to be a completely new slate. And there's nothing, it's just a new team. And because let's say Pochettino comes back and he does the same training sessions, the same speeches, Harry Kane's going to say, listen, I've heard all of this before and we got to the final and we came up short. It just, to me, yes, he went to PSG and he won trophies there. Let's not forget. And I spoke to PSG fans and they said Pochettino was quite good, even though the media will say he failed. He didn't win the Champions League. But anyway, that's a different story. To me, I want to go back to this point because I've been waiting for a while and I wanted to say, probably all of you right now are Conte out or were Conte out. But before yesterday, I was talking to my friend who's an Inter supporter and an AC Milan supporter and who watch Conte in the Italian league. And he says he's always like this. He's always grumpy. He's always passionate about football. And when he did that rant, I was happy because I wanted someone to start yelling at the club, yelling about these issues. I was happy. I wish he personally named the players. I wish he mentioned by name, for example, let's say Højbjerg, you were the problem. Dyer, you were the problem. I wish he said that, because I'm going to keep thinking about which players was he talking about, because they are the problem, and they need to leave.
Guys,
and they wait, Simone, I waited quite a while for this. Pochettino's been one of the greatest managers we've had, and his points tally is 1.89 in the Premier League per game, points per game. Conte is about 0.1 point behind him. And we've been having a horrible season. And he's 0.1 behind him. And if that crazy penalty wasn't given, we'd be third right now. And he wouldn't have been sacked. The game, I always say it, the game is extremely fine margins. One shitty referee call, in my opinion, it wasn't a penalty. It was never a penalty, but whatever. It was a mistake done by a young kid who we put on. At that moment, I said, yes, bring on Sar, some energy. And then he did a mistake. Anyway, we forgive him. But a very unlucky thing created all of this, because if we would have won at Southampton and got the 3 points, and we would have conceded 2 goals, Conte would have yelled at them behind the scenes, behind closed doors, and we'd be sitting third right now. And the international break, we would have been happy because we were saying, oh, we're on track to finish into the top 4. And we've had one of the most complicated seasons I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'm only 29 years old, but I've never seen a season where we've had a Winter World Cup, where we've had one of the coaching staff die, who I felt horrible about. I still think about that guy because I fell in love with his character, and I used to love to see him with Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son had one of the worst seasons after finishing in, top scorer of the league. Son has been dreadful this season, and we never mention that. Son has been useless this season, useless, and he's one of my favorite players. We had the Winter World Cup, if another thing, if you look at the other Champions League squads, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, and us. Manchester City have about 20 world-class players, so obviously they're still challenging for the league. They're behind Arsenal. Look at the other three: us, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Chelsea and Liverpool have been struggling. They've been playing high-tempo Champions League football, Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League, Premier League. They're exhausted. And then most of the players were shipped to the World Cup. We've never seen a season as complicated and crazy. Never in my life have I seen something like this. Yet, we could have been third. And we sacked him over this. I think this is why Conte was calling for the fans, be patient. And when the journalists were talking about the league, he started to laugh. No, we're still building, we're getting there. He said these things. He told us these things. This is a process. It's going to take window after window after window. We were never going to get all the signings right. We were never, because we're not that club. I think our best transfer window, we never get more than 1 or 2 really spot on signings. It was going to take a while. And I think Levy and Enoch, lately, to be fair, they haven't done much wrong because they've put the money up. They put the 45 million for Pedro Porro. They got it over the line. They spent and they put the cash injection in the summer. So they're adding funds, and we're starting to see us flex a little bit the financial power. And we've only still had, I think, one full season behind our stadium, our money generating stadium. We can talk about this for days, but we've been incredibly unlucky. And don't forget, we've had our best player, my favorite player, Rodrigo Bentancur, get injured. On top of that, probably he's the second top scorer, I think, with 5 Premier League goals. He's the second top scorer, and we've lost him. Yes, the good thing is now Oliver Skip is playing, but when then everyone wants to have Conte sacked. We forget about these things. All of these contribute to probably that day. And Conte lost it. He's Italian. Italians are extremely, extremely passionate people. And on that day, he lost it. And I was happy he did that rant. And if I was Levy, but I'm not in that position, I would have said, listen, you're employed by this club, finish this season, and then we'll talk in the summer. And whatever players don't fight and put 100% for the badge, I will speak to them when it comes to the summer. I will say, I'm not going to say names because I don't know who. I will say, talk to your agent, find the club, because we don't want you here at Spurs anymore. The manager, you have to respect him. And I think Levy, in a way, hung out Conte to dry, because if I'm a player and I know he's going to be gone in the summer, or there's a bit of cloudiness around the contract situation, I'm going to start thinking, listen, he's not going to be here next summer, so I don't have to put in 100% for this manager. I think Conte was very unlucky, very unlucky. Yes, he made mistakes. Don't get me wrong. He made mistakes. He made mistakes that I won't forgive him for. For example, he's been very stubborn with the formation. He didn't play Richarlison when he deserved to play against AC Milan. We can name them all day. Why did he never play Dan Juma? Why didn't he give him a chance? Why doesn't he rotate the squad to keep the players fresh? Pochettino was quite good at this in his last season when we got to the Champions League final. He used to rotate between the players and they got minutes, and we used to play Foyth every now and then, Wanyama, Trippier. He used to rotate them, Ben Davis, Danny Rose, and they used to come in and out of the team.
Melvin, can I ask you just about the club signing aspect? Because I feel that needs to change at the club. I know it may be modern day football. It's not just Tottenham this happens at. But when a manager or a head coach gets players in that they have not chosen and they are club signs, is that right for you?
Yeah, well, we didn't get Conte's number one target, Bastoni. We didn't get him over the line either. He probably started his summer probably pissed off and thinking, I wanted this guy. I was gonna, build like he's an anchor. Leagues are won by your defense, and we're still playing with Eric Dyer and Ben Davis, and we had to bring Longley in on a season-long loan. If he did okay, Longley, but it's not Bastoni. He wanted him, and if we got Bastoni for Conte, then the pressure is on Conte. Listen, we brought you your guy. This is the guy you wanted. We spent 65 million on him. And Paratici would probably say the same to him. Listen, we brought you the players you wanted, one by one. And that's why Conte is smart, and so is Jose. They say these things in the media, so they cover their behinds. They say club signing. This guy is a club signing. So when he's not played or we can see gaps in the squad, right away the fans will say, they didn't bring me my number one target. And there's both sides to the story. I think the board are at fault. Conte is at fault. I think these problems have been spanning because our priorities weren't in line. I think the club have different priorities than Conte. Enoch wants, Levy wants actually, top four now. And Conte wants to win now. And the fans want entertaining football and to win trophy. It's not the same. How do you say? The Tottenham fans, we used to be patient. We've been patient long enough. And we want to see us win now. But all the progress we made under Pochettino and all that patience, all that 5 years of building, it just seems we lost all of that. All of that, we lost it. We lost it all. All the foundation work Pochettino did to bring us to where we were, we lost it. And we have to start from day one. It just seems we're the same where we were under Tim Sherwood and AVB. It's like we're the same. We still have Gareth Bale is Harry Kane. It's the same. It's like we're a one-man team. He leaves and we rebuild and we start again. It's that sort of thing. And there's whoever we bring in, no pressure. We start again and we buy young, exciting players, English players. We bring the academy in. It just seems we have to start from scratch, from day one, and we have to back who's ever in charge. And it's gonna be a long process, and that's not what the fans want. We fans want to win now, and because I don't want to see Harry Kane retire and not win anything. I'd rather him leave the club than see him retire at Spurs and not win a trophy. It's my opinion. It will hurt me if he doesn't win a trophy, because I think he's done so much for us. And it's a shame. It's a shame because on one hand, if we want to win now, and so Harry Kane wins the trophy, it's like, you know what I mean? You could go both ways. If we start off with a project manager, Harry Kane's going to be like, this project is going to take 3 to 4 years. Why am I going to stay here and wait 3 to 4 years? By that time, I'll be 33, 34, and risk not winning anything. I think, honestly, my opinion, I think Harry Kane will stay and leave on a free transfer. He'll do his best, and the fans will applaud him when he leaves, and because they will say, you tried, and it didn't happen. So go win with someone else. All the best, and there'll be no hard feelings.
Melvin, Roy writes on screen now. Very good points, Melvin. Daniel Levy needs to get this next appointment right. Last couple of questions for you all. I just want to ask you all who, if you could choose, what manager would you like at the club next? I know, obviously, Simone's going to say Pochettino. And then, of course, we'll come on to the Everton game. So the last couple of questions. Lee, let's start with you. If it was your choice, who would you like to see as the next Spurs head coach?
Well, personally, I really don't think it's going to make a difference, right? Under this owner, I really don't think it's going to make a difference. I think it's going to be, unless we go for Pochettino, I think it will be exactly the same for whoever the next manager is. The only difference I think with Pochettino is he knows what he's getting himself into and may well know a way of dealing with that kind of situation. So for me, I think that the most sensible thing would be to go for Pochettino, because I think in 18 months we'll be in exactly the same position as we are now with anybody else. I think Pochettino may well be the only one that will buck that trend. So that's my view.
Lee, Danny Rose said a week or so ago that he doesn't think that Daniel Levy and the club will go for Pochettino because it would be their way of admitting that they got it wrong in 2019. Do you believe that? Or do you think there's another reason why we haven't called Pochettino yet?
No, I can see that. I don't think Daniel Levy is that arrogant that he will never go back on a decision he's made because he thinks he's right in whatever he does. So I can absolutely see that. And Danny Rose obviously had some kind of relationship with Levy, because he said in the old all or nothing thing, I'll go to Jose, I'll go and have a word with Daniel. So he obviously has a relationship enough with him to be able to go and knock his door. So, yeah, absolutely, I can see that. Absolutely.
What about Nagelsmann, Lee? Would he excite you?
Listen, I'll support whoever they bring in. Whoever the manager is that they bring in, I will support them because I want them to do well. I would give them my wholehearted support, watch how they play football and all the rest of it. Like Craig said, I don't know a lot about him. I don't know what sort of football he plays and all the rest of it. Everybody else tells me he's really good and he plays exciting football and so on and so forth. Great, fine. If that's what we're going to do, absolutely, I will back it 100%. But, and this comes back to the thing, and like I say, I know I've been the negative one on this chat today, but I do think that in 18 months' time we'll probably be back in exactly the same boat, because Daniel Levy and the board and the way we work will strangle the life out of any coach unless they really know what they're getting themselves into.
It has to be different, though, Lee. It surely has to be. And if you were a manager,
why does it have to be different, though, Chris? It has to be different for us as fans, right? For us, it has to be different, right? But why does it have to be different for Enoch?
Well,
why
if you are a potential manager right now, and you have seen Pochettino be sacked, you've seen Jose Mourinho be sacked 6 days before a final, you've seen the club take 72 days to appoint Nuno, that didn't work out. You've then seen the club appoint Antonio Conte. You've then seen that explosive rant last week as a potential manager at Tottenham Hotspur. You have seen Antonio Conte say all of that. Surely you would be asking yourself 101 questions. And if you went into a job interview at Hotspur Way or Lily White House with Daniel Levy in the board, surely, Lee, you would be having 500 questions written down to say, what am I going to be given? What assurances have I got? What's going to be different from Pochettino to Jose Mourinho to Conte, blah, 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 blah. Surely there are so many questions to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd have all those questions, wouldn't you? But at the end of the day, if they don't give you the answers that you want to hear, you're going to walk away, right? Or are you? Or is the arrogance of the manager and the self-belief of the manager enough to say, well, I can work with that. I can do that because I'm good enough. I'm a good enough manager to turn around this, that, or the other. I'm a good enough manager to change the attitude of the players or how the atmosphere around the ground or whatever. So you're gonna believe in yourself, right? So you've got to. If you're in that sort of environment and you're at that sort of level that you can walk into Tottenham Hotspur and present to that board that you're going to be their next manager, you've got to have something about you. But if you're asking those questions and you're not getting back what you want, you should be walking away. But a lot of managers won't because they'll believe in themselves. And also there's a massive lure in the amount of money that you're going to get paid, the amount of kudos you're going to get from that club, and where that takes you on a springboard to other jobs. So, there's a lot of things to consider in all of that. But, for the average human being walking in there, you're going to go, no, I want this and I want that and I want the other. There's no guarantees you're going to get that because I would have thought that Conte would have had these conversations, surely. And if they'd have said to him, yes, we're going to back you. Yes, we're going to buy you the players you want. And what we're seeing is, no, they didn't back him with the players they want. They might have done this, that, or the other, and he didn't get what he wanted out of it. Then, this is where we end up.
Roy writes here, we could be the first club to be interviewed by a manager. I think that's absolutely right. So, Mo, let's come to you.
You must be mad. You must be mad to want to come to this club. Absolutely.
Yeah. Simone, let's come to you. I know you're a big Pochettino fan.
Yeah, don't ask me about Poch because I love him so much. So don't ask me about him because, of course.
Do you have any love? Do you have any love for Julian Nagelsmann?
No, definitely no. And this is a great point to start, guys. First of all, I absolutely love Melvin. I respect him a lot. I love his truths and feelings, but I need to be honest, guys. I'm not thinking about Spurs, about Eastern managers or maybe project managers. If you think that this is the problem, you are completely wrong, guys. You are completely wrong. Because if Daniel Levy wants every single season to being able to finish into the top four, that's a mistake. Because in the modern Premier League, if you wish to finish into the top four, you need to build a team that is capable of winning the league. Because Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man U, Man City, Newcastle, things like that, stuff like that. If you wanna finish into the top four, you need to build a team that is capable of winning the league. If you wanna finish in top four. So, first of all, the Tottenham hierarchy, Tottenham needs to protect his own funds. This is my feelings and my aim. But it's not about Eastern managers just like Jose or Antonio. It's not about project managers just like Julian Nagelsmann. Because what do you want to do with Nagelsmann? Maybe 1 year, maybe 1 year and a half, and maybe we got sacked. So it's not about playing the Tottenham DNA, playing Tottenham way. It's about being complete. It's about being the Tottenham DNA, trying to build once again a Spurs side that is capable to face everyone in the next couple of 2, 3, or 4, 5 years. And I don't know, guys, I loved, just like you, Martial, Harry Renap, but maybe Poch was the best. So this is why I always kept on saying Poch was the best. Poch, Mauricio Pochettino. For this reason, I love Antonio. I had so much respect towards Jose. But if you want to fit the way you are, this is the manager for you. This is my feelings.
Simone, do you dream of Mauricio Pochettino holding a trophy?
Yeah, definitely. But I opened my Instagram 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago, but it was in Japan, so I don't know what to say. So I don't think he will come back sooner. So maybe in the summer, or stuff like that. But I don't know.
Craig, if it was your choice, who would you go with?
I think I'd go with Pochettino. And if that was the case, if like the welcome video that was released by the media team isn't him writing on a blackboard or a whiteboard in the changing room,
yeah.
I'm back. Somebody's not doing their job properly. For me, if Daniel Levy came out and did a rare video on the website, on YouTube, whatever, and just gave the fans a 10-15 minute video just of him talking and just coming out and saying, I got it wrong. I admit I got it wrong, but now I'm trying to put it right. Can you imagine? All right, there'll be a part of the fan base that will never want Levy in charge, right? No matter what he says. But can you imagine the people he would win back a little bit of respect by coming out and saying they got it wrong? Because the thing is, we all know they got it wrong. We all know they've got it wrong. If they actually come out and said, look, we're the custodians of this club, as Daniel's told us before, we've got it wrong, but we're trying to put it right. We've brought Mauricio back because we think he's the one that can get us out of this mess. And I'm not saying they'll go as far as saying, we were wrong to sack him, but just come out and say we were wrong to, basically let the fans read into it what they said, but at least they're admitting mistakes. At least they're admitting that pragmatic managers aren't going to work for this club and this fan base. I just think he'd win back a hell of a lot of people just by doing that. Just an honest response to this. But like you say, they've got to get it right. No matter what I say, no matter what we say, and anybody else.
Craig.
Yes, mate.
Because Levy does this all the time. He would argue from his perspective, like sacking Pochettino was the right thing to do at that time. And even, Mourinho and Conte now, he always does this where in his perspective, it's the right thing to do. And some fans agree and some fans don't, but that's football. But Levy always argues about how, from his perspective, it's like it was the only solution at the time. Pochettino lost the dressing room. So you have to get a reaction. Jose was available. And then Jose lost the dressing room. And the only way to get the reaction was to sack him. Yes, it was before a cup final. We all said these things. But I'm like yourself, not Enoch in, not Enoch out. I always support the club. But he always argues from his perspective, it's like his hands were tied. It's like it's the only thing logical was to do. And the same with Conte. That's the way he looks at it. He sees 22 people in the dressing room. Half of them don't like the manager, or more than half of them, and they're not responding to what he's saying. And it's like his hands were tied. He had to sack this world-class manager who's won titles at Juventus, won titles at Inter, won with the national team, and all of a sudden it's not working with Tottenham Hotspur. And it's like his hands are tied. It's not he who wanted to get rid of him. It's just like he does it for the short-term gain because he doesn't want to miss out on Champions League football. But if we keep doing this short-term thing where we always look for the now, but only looking at top 4, we're never really going to progress forward, because we're going to keep thinking, if next season, whoever we hire, if we keep thinking like this, if we don't think for the future, 4, 5, 6 years, and start to build proper foundations in every single position. Now Hugo Lloris, our club captain, is getting, old. He's making a little bit of mistakes. Now we need to sign probably a really, really strong player in that position and start building from there. Is the captaincy going to be available next summer? Are we going to give it to Harry Kane? Are we going to give it to whoever comes in? There's lots of question marks that need to be answered, and they need to be, spot on decisions. I think last season we made top 4 because we signed 2 very good players, and we had a very good coach at the moment, and we're all pulling from one rope. And all of a sudden, if we don't pull from the same rope, it just seems there was, different cliques and all of this, and we've heard it before. We've heard how toxic it was under Jose, and this culture is terrible, because if you lose the dressing room, all of a sudden it's the manager who gets sacked, and it's wrong, because it's the manager does his best, and it's not fair on him sometimes, but it's the players who should bear the mistakes and bear the consequences, not the manager. But I cut in, but from Enoc's side, sometimes I think they get wrongly mistreated or criticized. Sometimes, not always, because they do things horribly wrong sometimes. But at times you have to applaud them for what they've done. I think everyone's expectations of Tottenham Hotspur over the past 10 years have went from here to up here. We used to think, we were a Europa League side. Now Champions League is absolute must. And our priorities have risen. Our expectations of the club have risen. We want trophies now. We demand it. We want them now. So that's, in a way, a blessing and a disguise, because Pochettino and Enoch gave us that. And they've invested money. They brought Porro in. They're signing slowly. They're doing the rebuild because Romero's 23. Kulusevski's 21, Bentancur's 24 or something like that. It's a young squad. Bissouma's quite young. We forget about Bissouma, who's an absolutely brilliant signing, who hasn't kicked on yet. We still have the rebuild is slowly happening. So with Conte or without Conte, I think whoever manager comes in next season is going to find a completely improved squad. We just have to need to cut some of the deadwood out, and I think Enoch and Levy are stuck a little bit. They don't know if they're going to sell the club, keep it. It's just they need to follow the old things that they used to do. It's like they lost track of their vision, and they were swayed by Jose. They were swayed by the big names, and we're a club that invests in the youth and fast attacking flair players. We lost track of the type of profile of players that we buy when we started buying Matt Doherty and these players that we thought were going to improve us immediately. But we need to go back to the old Spurs and buy not prospects, because you know what I mean. I think you know a little bit what I mean when I say go back to the old Spurs. I mean, like when we used to buy players to improve that position that we know we're going, like Toby, like Wanyama. I mean, those transfer windows were brilliant for us. We need to go back to buying solid players and that need to improve us immediately. And we'll see. It's gonna be a massive summer. We say this every year, but I think this season they have to really get it right. I think they had a chance. They managed to convince Kane the summer he wanted to leave to City. They managed to convince him somehow to stay, and we were gonna rebuild, but that all went down. And now they have to do it again.
Go on, Craig.
I don't think, Melvin, that they actually convinced him to stay. I just think two things happened. I think Daniel Levy just basically said, I'm not selling you. And Man City didn't come in with him and offer to even make him turn his head. I don't think that was even the case. Personally, going back to the squad, I would be quite excited to see what somebody like Poch could do with our current squad. Actually, I'm not saying we don't need improvements. We clearly do. But I think there are some young players, like you say, in there that I think he could work some good stuff with. You know, I think he's proved when we're four at the back with Walker and Rose bombing on. You don't necessarily have to play a wing-back system. I think Porro would still get forward in a 4. I think Udogie would still get forward in a 4. It's the system that he plays and the high press. People say, well, Kane can't do it anymore. He's a fit fella, and if you're playing Kane in the role he is now, he still presses. He's still getting around the pitch. So you could still do that. You just move the whole team up the pitch a bit. It would be nice to see us not defending our 18-yard line for the whole bloody game. But, you know, to get everybody up. And I think the players would enjoy it a bit more. They just didn't look like they was enjoying it to me. Even from the first game this season, they just don't look like they're enjoying the tactics sometimes. I just think Conte, for me, great manager, but sometimes when you look into the tactics and the things, the way he drilled the players, you've got to be here. You've got to be exactly there when this player's got the ball here. I just think sometimes there's too much to remember. Let them go out and play football. Like Harry Redknapp used to say, go and play football. You know, they know what to do. They don't need to be drilled to the nth degree. And it clearly doesn't work for this group of players anyway. And I just don't think that football works like that. You know, you hear stories about them playing with mannequins on the pitch, you know?
It certainly worked for Conte before because he's won trophies everywhere he's been.
No, that's why I said it doesn't work with this group of players. That's what I said. Yeah. So in that regard, if it's not working, then you have to adapt. And he didn't adapt, you know? And that's the major point. The players we've got are either being clear, the ones we've brought in clearly can't get it. So is that bad recruitment or whatever? I know you're not going to know whether a Bissouma or a Longley are going to actually get it. But football's fluid. It's not an exact science. So you can't always go like that. It's just my view. I know he won with Inter and he won with Chelsea. But perhaps he's still trying to be a bit too precise with a squad of players that just can't play like that. So that's my opinion.
Perhaps Conte didn't need to be so animated on the sideline if the players were doing what he wanted them to do.
I mean, he shouted and swore at Bissouma, didn't he? Bentancur. Yeah. You saw it. I mean, look, I'm all. I don't think that's that much of a deal. They're big boys. They're paid a load of money. You see it in park football all the time where managers are shouting at players. I get that. It's probably not something that a lot of managers do. But then again, I've seen Pep do it, so perhaps they do. I don't know. But for me, Poch would be the one that I'd be on the phone to. And Nagelsmann, if we can't have Poch, I'd take Nagelsmann. But I kind of agree with Simone. I'm not sure that we wouldn't be here in 18 months having the same type of podcast. But we'll see. I hope not.
I really hope not. Martin writes on screen now, Pochettino is the only one who really knows this club. Melvin, I know you spoke at length about this, but just give me a name. Who would you like to see at the club?
I think either or will improve us, but I'll say Pochettino because I think the players that we have, I think some of them really suit him, especially like players like Skip, Bissouma, Højbjerg, even Bentancur when eventually he comes back from injury. I think we have some young players coming through that he can develop even further. He can get more out of them. As good as Conte was, and I think that's something that he really lacked. I think he didn't trust any of the young guys, and even attempt to develop them further. I think the only moments that he played the young players is when his hands were tied and we had injuries, and that's something that I didn't like about Conte. I would love Pochettino to come back and start improving Jet Spence. Remember when we used to call him the fullback whisperer or something like that? We used to say how well he developed Kyle Walker, Danny Rose, and Imagine Jet Spence under Poch. Imagine Destiny Udogi under Pochettino and Pedro Porro and even Emerson Royal. He's still at the club and I would love Pochettino to come back. And what Simone was saying, and I think I agree with a lot. I think Conte is a Premier League is a league manager, and he has this system of playing where he'll win boring games 1-0 or 2-0, but with elite clubs and that keep clean sheets, and he'll win you the league year after year. But he never takes risks or chances like Pochettino does. Pochettino, when he sets up a team, he'll teach them to be brave on the ball, be courageous, attack with the ball. If you remember the AC Milan game, we weren't brave, we weren't courageous, we did nothing exciting with the ball, we didn't take risks. It's why we did nothing against AC Milan. 2 legs, we didn't have 1 or 2 chances on target. I went to both matches at the San Siro and at the Lane, and they were both boring games. We did nothing. We weren't exciting. We weren't our club. We weren't to dare is to do. Our club motto. All we have to do is sometimes think about our club motto, because we don't. That's what we need to follow. We need to follow our motto. To dare is to do, and Pochettino is to dare is to do, and that's it.
Well, Melvin, you personally, you did dare for the AC Milan clash. Tell everyone what happened outside the San Siro for you personally.
So my fiance now, my girlfriend is an AC Milan supporter, and this is probably and I proposed to her outside the San Siro before the game, which is an important key thing to think about, because we're quite, both of us, she's crazy about AC Milan, how I am crazy about Spurs, and we never talk bad about each other's clubs. I love AC Milan, I like them, and she likes Spurs, but in that moment, I was Tottenham and she was AC Milan, and we watched the game together, and when they beat us 1-0, even though I thought they didn't do much, we could have beaten them if we were more brave. But it was a special moment for us because we got to watch 2 games together and not kill each other, because we're quite passionate and crazy supporters, and she loves coming to our stadium. She thinks it's incredible, and the people next to me, when I told them she was AC Milan, they were extremely friendly with her. They shook her hand after the game and told her, all the best, and even thank you for coming, and hope you enjoyed our stadium. The Spurs fans were brilliant with her, and Chris has met her. Simone met her outside the stadium as well, and it will be, and maybe an AC Milan and Tottenham wedding.
We look forward to that. James, let's come back to you. Let me get your thoughts on who would you like to see as the next Spurs boss?
Definitely Pochettino, but backed. So not Pochettino like on a 2-year contract. I wouldn't like to see it at all. I think even with Pochettino, it might be coming back to this same cycle. So Pochettino, but backed. Let's get Pochettino gets the van off Daniel Levy, goes down to the furniture store and gets some furniture for the house. Then up for Pochettino. Yeah, giving him what he wanted in 2019, 2020. And what he spoke about, which probably was the start of his demise there. But give him what he wants, and Pochettino definitely. There's no other man for me. Nagelsmann excites me a little bit, but like the other guys have been saying, I am deeply concerned that we'll be back here doing the same podcast in 2024, 2025. But Pochettino, would get time, and the fans would be behind him, so that would buy him time as well. So just one name for me.
James, what about the other ones we're being linked with at the moment? Brighton manager De Zerbi, Brentford manager Thomas Frank, Luis Enrique's name keeps coming up. Glazner's name keeps coming up. What about those managers? Any of those you fancy? De Zerbi, perhaps?
For me, but for me, like, has he not just taken on like what Potter did? Like, Potter changed that Brighton team, brought the whole club to being the club that they are now. And then he went on to Chelsea and failed at Chelsea. And De Zerbi's come on and to a certain degree and has just inherited what a lot of what he's done. I'm not saying he's done a bad job, but like Potter changed the philosophy, and the same is what Pochettino did with us at Tottenham. So I don't think he's quite earned it yet for me, De Zerbi. Whereas, yeah, back to Poch, because I do love him. He has earned it, and he's earned his spur. Yeah, but not De Zerbi. No, I don't. I'm not a big fan. I think like Potter's done the job there, more than he has.
So the majority of you want Mauricio Pochettino back. I think it's very unrealistic, if I'm completely honest. Yeah. Lee, let's start with you. This is the last question. We've been going now for nearly 2 hours. I didn't think this would go on for so long, but of course there is so much to talk about. Last question. Everton game next Monday, back in the Premier League. Christian Stellini and Ryan Mason, of course, will take charge, as discussed. It has been reported today that Richarlison won't be fit enough to go to his former club, Goodison Park. Ben Davies is out. Emerson Royale, an update on him today. He's got to have surgery, will be out for the next 6 weeks or so. What system do you think that Stellini and Ryan Mason will play? The same as Conte?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I think they'll play exactly the same. I don't think anything's changing, and I think that's probably why they've kept Stellini on. I think it's something they've worked out with Conte, that they've got a plan for the summer, and they just want to make sure we get to top four by trying to keep some consistency. So I think that's why he's still there, as unusual as it is. Because I think it's too soon for a managerial bounce, and there's only 10 games left. So yeah, I think we'll still play the same system. I don't think it'll change.
When you say managerial bounce, Lee, normally when a new manager comes in, you get that, but actually nothing's changed.
No, and to be honest with you, I'll pick up on what Melvin said about the players in the dressing room weren't happy with him and all the rest of it. So basically, we've just given in that the players that are not performing, we've just given in to them and pushed the manager out to see what happens. And hopefully they'll be happier, so they'll play better football. Will they? I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced, Chris, if I'm honest. I'm at that point where I'm really disappointed. I'm really frustrated with the whole thing. And I need some serious discussions with those players about what do they actually want out of this. Because you can't just keep pushing managers out the door left, right, and centre because you don't like to hear what they've got to say when you're not performing.
Lee, give me a score prediction.
6-0 to Spurs.
All first half goals.
Yeah, all first half goals.
Simone, how are you feeling about this Everton game?
I don't know what's about Everton game. When you decide to sack Antonio to appoint his second man, Stellini, that is a top man. I love him. Stellini is a top man, great guy, top man. But for me, if you decide to sack Antonio to appoint Stellini, we are at the end of the day. We are completely at the end of the day. So for me, the situation is absolutely a mess. I need to be honest. And it's not about Eastern managers like that, just like Antonio or Jose, or future managers, project managers, just like Nagelsmann. This club is absolutely a mess. So I don't think that both Stellini and Mason will try to finish. Yeah, they will try definitely, but I don't think that they will manage to finish above both Newcastle and Liverpool. I don't think it is the case. So I don't know what we can expect. I expect a very, very difficult game against Everton, and I don't know, but it's not the most important thing, guys. The most important thing is to try to build a future. And for me, Daniel Levy, Joe Lewis, Enik are extraordinary in terms of building structures, just like the training ground, structures, just like the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but they are completely useless in terms of building the engine of the club, that is the team, the first team. So I don't know what I can expect. I'm completely depressed by them. So we'll see what happens.
Simone, your score prediction?
2-0 for Everton. Sean Dice will win the game.
What was that?
Sean Dice will win the game. So for me, if you are asking me about the score prediction, I will be for 2-0 Everton.
Wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Craig, how are you feeling about it? Do you think Stellini and Mason will change the system at all to what Antonio Conte's used all season?
I don't think they will. No, because that's what Stellini's used to as well. They're probably going to go with the three at the back like they have all season, because you could argue that it would just confuse the players because they've been playing that for so long, year and a half, whatever it is. I just can't see him changing it. I mean, I'd love to see us a bit further up the pitch and press a bit more and even play with a number 10. You can still play three at the back, but tweak the midfield and the attack. That's what I'd love to see. But I think with the sheer amount of players we've got injured, the team is almost going to pick itself. Having said that, I think we will turn Everton over 2-1, but it's going to be a tight game. I'm sorry, I don't look excited about it because I'm not. I'm not in any way, shape, or form. I just want the season done with now. This club will drive you to drink.
I need to feel excited about it if I'm driving up to Goodison Park and back. So I'm going to say that Spurs are going to win, because I need to feel a little bit of excitement when I'm taking that drive.
That's right. I totally get it. And people like yourself, Chris, people say, "Oh, we should vote with our feet and not go to the ground. You should not buy tickets and all that." If that's your love, if that's your passion, you're going to do it whatever because you follow Tottenham Hotspur, right? And people say, "Don't go. If you've got a season ticket, don't go." But if you resell your ticket on Ticket Exchange, the club get a percentage of that anyway. So Daniel Levy's getting more money out of you. So if you really don't want to go, just don't resell your ticket, because if you sell it via the proper channels, you're actually, the club's getting more money out of you than the price of the ticket you paid for. So look, I want the season done with now. If we can scrape fourth, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm still not convinced we will, but I'll end on a positive or a slight positive. You just never know, because every team around us seems to be dropping silly points just like us. And so I think it's going to go down to the last few games. That's all I'll say, because this isn't over by a long shot, but we've got to do our bit.
Yeah, talking about tickets, the season ticket prices are actually going up for next season.
Is that is that definite?
Yeah. Yeah. James, your thoughts on the Everton game?
I think we'll win it. I think it'll be a tight first half, and I think 3-1, Kane scoring first. I think the one thing with Stellini that I've seen before, obviously apart from Sheffield United and Wolves, which I think we played quite well in the first half, was they did play without the shackles on a little bit, like what was mentioned before about like actually enjoying the football. I did see the players kind of enjoying it a little bit more. So I think it's going to be a better performance. I did enjoy slightly watching us better under Stellini when they had the shackles off them and they could run around a bit more and just enjoy their football a bit more. Sounds very old school of me, but I did enjoy that. I think 3-1. One thing I'm concerned about is with the Stellini song, I've got to change that last line, haven't I? Because he's not won every game now. So I've got to rewrite that last line. I've got a few options, but I don't know what one yet.
You're absolutely right, though, James. Apart from that Sheffield United game, we have created a number of chances in all the others. And, of course, he does, up until that point, he did have a good record. In that Wolves game, we had a number of chances, but just couldn't score.
That's right.
Melvin, what about you? Everton game. Feeling confident?
Silently confident. I don't know. I think there'll be some kind of managerial bounce, or I guess because of the absence of Conte, some players will have to step up. I think it'll be a big game because of the absence of Conte, and the media will be focused to see what Spurs do. I think all the players will have to step up because I think this game can potentially win against Everton, and it will start your top four charge. You know what I mean? The momentum it'll be a really big game to build from. if we get 3 points, if you lose, you know, the problems escalate. But if you win, it's like the problems are delayed for another week. And then if you win again, it's like they say, fake it till you make it. It's like we have to keep faking these results and getting the 3 points until, you know, we get over the line and finish the season. Something I wanted to ask James. Does your opinion on the manager affect which one we're gonna pick, Poch or Nagelsmann?
Yeah, because nothing rhymes with Nagelsmann. So
yeah, I was gonna say, does the song?
Hang on,
Does this? Have you thought about it already?
Yeah, I did think that nothing rhymes with Nagelsmann, so that's me a bit of a nightmare, that one. But yeah, I might just start playing His Magic, you know, like at the stadium, see how that goes down. So, yeah, it does a little bit. No, not really. I want to see what's best for the club, but nothing does rhyme in Nagelsmann.
Yeah. It would be interesting if next home game the whole crowd starts singing His Magic, you know.
Yeah.
You know, imagine 62,000 people singing that.
I think we're getting close, aren't we, with the away fans starting to do it, aren't they? I see a video you put up, Chris, didn't you, of when fans started singing that?
It started against AC Milan in the south stand.
Yeah, more and more.
This is the thing I've got to say. I've said this a few times with the club, but the away support is it literally is the best I've seen. It's incredible. And how they're always the loudest at the grounds. And these fans in particular, for me, that they deserve a lot more than what they're getting.
Yeah, certainly, James. Completely agree. Lee, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We haven't mentioned your YouTube channel yet. Please tell everyone where they can find you. What sort of content are you putting out at the moment?
Yeah, so as the name suggests, Lee the Dorset Spur. You can find me on all of the major social medias. I'm out there. I do. I do I like to call them like honest appraisals. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I just say what I think. I don't do fancy stuff. I don't have intros and all that sort of malarkey because I'm not that clever. But I will give you my opinion. So if you want to hear some old bloke moaning, I'm your man.
Don't know where Chris has gone.
I've just killed him.
Yeah, you want to get over. You're doing do you want us to appraisal? Okay, over to you, Simone. Where can we find you?
Yeah, definitely, guys. My answer will always be absolutely the same. If you wanna to follow me, I'm on Instagram, and it's Simone Doc dell'Uomo 21, just like your number. Nico Cruncher. I don't know if you still remember that fantastic Croatian playmaker in the
Nico
10 years ago under Harry Redknapp. 21, so Simone Doc dell'Uomo 21 on Instagram, and that's all, guys. That's all.
Okay.
I have got Facebook, but I do not have still Twitter. So
is it the same on Twitter?
No, I don't know. I'm still not on Twitter.
Oh, you're not on Twitter?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. In every social, but I still have to go to Instagram, guys. So.
Okay. Over to you, Craig. Where can people find you?
Oh, well, if you want to, it's there at Dearman9 on Twitter. Gained a lot of followers recently, actually. I've breached 200, so that's really good. But yeah, if you want to follow me, by all means, that'd be lovely. Give me a follow. Over to you, James.
Well, I'm on the Voice of Spurs on every channel, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I play live at the ground. And then the next home game for Brighton, I'll be at the Shelf Bar, pre and post game. Over to you, Mel.
Fantastic. Maybe James, I will
Come down, come have a drink.
Maybe I will be the new White Hart Lane for the home games.
That's it, mate. Yeah, come and see me.
So, massive respect, guys. I delight to have the chance to see you as soon as possible, guys.
And you, mate. Melvin, where do we find you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Melvin Malta. You can follow me on Twitter. Ever since I've been doing these with Chris, I used to have about 11 followers. I had less followers than Jesus, and now I'm slowly.
Well, at least you're real, Melvin.
He had a few more, though, didn't he?
Yeah, because of Chris, I'm slowly gaining some followers on Twitter. Yeah, but yeah, you can find me at Melvin Malta, and yeah, James, we'll start following you and sending you some our version of songs. Maybe we can chip one in.
That's good, yeah. So we took over. And Chris, where can people find you?
Here. You can find me here.
New background.
Yeah, very much so. New background needed here, yeah. Of course, we'll probably be talking about potential new managers for the next 2 or 3 months, so look out for that. But Lee, Simone, Craig, James and Melvin, thanks so much for joining me this evening. Been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully the manager search won't take that long and we will all know where we stand. And hopefully we'll be talking about some sort of success at this football club in the very, very near future. Fingers crossed. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you don't subscribe to the channel as yet, please do hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. We will see you on the next one. Until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.